I'm Amy DeVroon and welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast. 2020 has been a mad year thus far, a year where we've really had to take a look at ourselves. As a self-help nut, this hasn't been hugely out of the ordinary for me, but what has been so unusual is watching an entire creative industry grind to a halt in front of my very eyes. The link between creativity and mental health has always fascinated me, so I wanted to go deeper. In a world where we so often equate success with fame, it can be easy to forget the reason behind it all. Creativity. This unique, inexplicable gift. The thing we do where we lose all sense of time. The thing that lifts our hearts even in the darkest of moments. The thing that many of us feel we were put on this earth to do. So every week I'm going to talk to my guests about just that. Their creativity. Their highs and lows, and where they find their creativity when it feels like there's nowhere to put it. On today's podcast, we have none other than Irish fashion designer and my friend, Emma Manley. Emma is one of life's genuine good people, and you are going to fall in love with her. So Emma Manley, welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This is so weird because I just want to have a chat to you, which is good because that's what we do on this.
Well, I have a cup of tea, so
yeah, exactly. So yeah, Emma, you've been you were on my list from the very beginning for this podcast because I guess, yeah, we're talking about creativity and you're kind of the ultimate, like, creative, really. Well, you seem to be able to kind of do it all. I'm sure you'll say you're not. But it comes across from the outside like you can you can manage a lot. And you're a fashion designer. You've got your own, do you say line or label? I'm not sure of the terms because I'm not in the industry myself.
Label or brand?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think I'm quite used to the term brand now. Like I would say the women's wear fashion and accessories brand.
Yes.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just, I suppose that's just what rolls off the tongue for me.
Yeah. And you're kind of, and you've been doing that for years. And I guess I just wanted to get into it a little bit more with you because...
do it, Amy. Do it.
Yeah, I know. So I suppose so basically for those who don't know, Emma, I guess you started off when you moved to London.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go to fashion college over there, but you had been to the Grafton Academy. Is that right? Am I right in that in Dublin?
Yeah, no.
And then you moved over and you were interning in Alexander McQueen.
Yes.
Which is like people are like, that's the most so that's all. It seems very starry-eyed, but I guess I just wanted to get into the reality of what that was like for you, because moving over to London is one thing. Mm-hmm. But I imagine working in fashion is quite scary in itself. And then I feel like working somewhere like Alexander McQueen, so that was kind of, did you go over knowing that that's what you were going to do? Or did you go over there with a blank slate?
No, so I actually had gone to New York in advance of going to London. So I graduated and there's a long story behind it, but I ended up going to New York and I was due to go with a pal, but she bailed last minute and I was left flying solo. And as I said, it's a long story involving being homeless on a bench, but only for about 18 hours.
In New York? How do I not know that? Okay.
Yeah, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. But then my sister was at a party and met somebody who went to college with somebody who'd a friend in New York.
Yeah.
Do you know this typical Irish stuff?
Yeah.
Irish stuff. So lo and behold, I was saved. I hooked up with this gorgeous girl, Naomi, who showed me around. And actually, strangely enough, I ended up in an apartment thanks to your husband's parents.
Stop.
You didn't know either. Yes.
No. Oh my God. Okay, this is great.
I think my mum bumped into Sean's uncle in Tesco and was explaining the saga about, oh Jesus, Emma's over in New York and everything's, the shit's hit the fan and I just want her to come home. I was 20, I was on my own, I was going over for my first ever internship. And he goes, oh, I think so-and-so knows somebody over there. And I moved into the apartment the next day.
Stop. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And were you there for long? Were you there for like the summer for a few weeks or a year?
3 months.
Like, what was, okay.
3 months. You're only allowed to go for 3 months. So I just kind of went for a holiday visa.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I went over for the 3 months. I had the internship set up in advance. It was with a company called VPL. And it's kind of like a luxury sportswear brand, very small, very much in the incubation stage. It was run by a very prominent British stylist and an investor.
Okay.
So it was where creativity meets money, and it was the product of it. And it was an incredible place to start. As I said, it was a startup brand. There wasn't the extravagance that I got with McQueen in London. Yeah. And I think that it was a really good place to start for that reason, that I saw the graft. So we were a really small team. I think there was like 4 of us. And we were from all over. You know, there was Megan from the States, Martin from Germany, me, and there was a couple other people who came in and left. But like my first week there, I was at New York Fashion Week, and Fashion TV was in the background. And like, do you remember those days of I love you, Fashion TV? It was all that. So, you know, coming from college and stepping straight into that was just wow. I worked my hiney off for 3 months. I experienced New York, albeit on an incredibly tight budget. I still, you know, got to do everything, and I had a great time, but my visa ran out after them offering me my dream job, because I couldn't make it back in time, because I would have had to come home to apply for a visa. And in the interim, there just was no way that timelines would have worked out. So it was kind of like, look, there will be this job going. We'd love you to take it. How would it work? And it was just the long and the short of it was it couldn't work. Yeah. So yeah, I came home, and I suppose I was in 2 minds. I'm a home bird anyway. I really wanted it. I would have done it, and I would have said, I'm moving to New York for 2 years. Great, done. And your hardest job in fashion is to get your first job. Yeah. So like, I felt like I'd kind of just been offered it on a plate. I was like, holy shit, this is great. But equally, I moved home, and I was very happy, and I wanted to get going again. But the next place for me to get going was London.
Yeah. So even though you were a home bird, you were always looking kind of outside, because I always feel like that with a lot of Irish people are kind of happy to just kind of build themselves up in our little pool of, like, be a big fish in a small pond. Whereas you were happy. Oh, my speaker, sorry.
It was never my dream to go away. It was my pal's dream from college. I never wanted to go to New York. Like, literally, I didn't. I was going with her. And then she was the one that bailed. But thank God that, you know, in some ways, because I wonder what I would have done otherwise. I probably would have stayed in Dublin, because I had my family and I had my friends, and I was happy, you know. So I think having had the taste for New York, and then going, do you know what? And there was an opportunity to move to London. And once again, your husband's implicated in this. So he was moving over for a scholarship, and so we got an apartment together, and it was it was perfect in a way, because you're moving with a friend. Yeah. It's not so scary. Yeah. And also a friend who's doing something creative as well. The opportunity came about, and there was no reason not to do it.
So would you be more of a like throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, rather than very strategic moves? Because I feel like there's always the 2 schools of thought, like in drama.
I believe that I wouldn't be throwing the old pasta at the wall, but I think I very much throw the pasta at the wall. Yeah. I like to think that I'm somebody who I'm not. Yeah. So no, I definitely.
Yeah. But then it kind of looks like, I think from the outside, then if you are that type of person and you do then follow through with the stuff, it then looks like it was all a very sort of seamless move from here to here.
I hope I make it look like that.
You do make it look very seamless. Oh my God. But how was that first year? Yeah, in London. How was that?
Yeah, it was
for you. Because I think London I loved it, but I had the security, I feel like, of a drama school. Yeah. So it was the kind of the very 9 to 5, the safety of it, the little bubble. And I found when I graduated from drama school, it was a bit more scary. But I feel like, going over, was it scary, or did you just like, or were you just the naive sort of like early 20s where you're just like anything goes?
Naive as hell. And that was the joy of it, I think. You know, if you asked me to do it today, I would want all my ducks in a row in advance. I would want everything to be so thought out. Whereas then it was kind of like, right, I'm just home from New York. I've got a month at home. I'm just going to, my biggest worry was how I was going to get my newly acquired vintage pieces from the markets in New York over to London. Like that was my worry. You know, I wasn't even, I was like, oh, I'll just apply for internships when I get over there, whatever. Like it didn't, I knew, it sounds kind of cocky, but I knew I'd find a way.
Yeah.
And that was in a way the joy of it, because I actually don't believe I ever would have applied to McQueen had I been applying for internships from home. Like I sent off a few mails for sure, but it was when I got over there, the internship process is very different in London to New York. So when I got over, they actually advertised for interns.
Yeah.
And there was a website that you go on to, and I saw it and I was like, God, I'm never going to get in there, but sure, screw it. I'll send over a mail and see what happens. And then I got called for an interview, you know? So I think being over there and just kind of being in the thick of it, that was just, you know, and also I had to get a job to support myself. So I very quickly got a job waitressing. So I was juggling a number of things from the get-go anyway. So it wasn't just about an internship, it was about surviving and, I don't know, standing on my own 2 feet for what really was the first time in my life. And it was all busy and it was all go. And then, you know, I got offered the place at McQueen. And I'd just like to point out as well, right, that when I went for the interview, my boss wasn't there that day. He was out sick. So I got interviewed by 2 interns. And I always wonder, like, would I have gotten that position if he'd been there? Because I was like, I remember just going, oh God, I'm so sorry. My portfolio is so shit. I'm so sorry. Because I'm not naturally artistic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very afraid of drawing. And I think I got rejected from art colleges a number of times. And I think I just had this bee in my bonnet that I'm not good enough. So I'd always apologize for my work before even showing it to people. So I was kind of like, these 2 gobshite interns have just given me the position. What the hell?
Yeah.
You know, even if I wasn't to have gotten it, if the big bad boss was there that day, it was a great way for me to get in, you know? I got it in the end.
No, it's incredible. But like, and actually with the art, so art was something, were you actually thinking at some point of doing art, or was it just kind of like...
No, God, no.
Okay. But art colleges is in fashion in an art college, is that...
Yes.
Okay.
I would have dreamed for the art college setting. I would have rathered not had to even contemplate doing core year.
Yeah.
But I also very much understand that's what art college is. You know, so, and I think that was the feedback each and every time was just, I was too fashion focused. And you know, they kind of wanted a blank canvas that they could, I suppose they just wanted to be able to mold you into what they felt or where they felt your strengths lay. And I was very matter of fact. I always knew what I wanted. And I was like, let's just cut the bullshit here, guys. We know what I'm good at. Can I just fast track to there? But, you know, Simone Rocha did core year, you know? Everybody was going to get put straight through to fashion. It should have been her, you know, but I couldn't understand it. And unfortunately, I just couldn't tick the right boxes for them, you know, and in whatever artistic way they wanted me to.
Yeah. It is funny though. It's like, it's funny how your journey goes like that, like, and how, because I would have been very focused in one direction in drama and stuff, and it was like all these different things then led me to having to go to London. I would have loved to have done drama school over here, and it's just so. And so you were obviously very focused on fashion from a young age, because I would have been like that with acting. I said actress from 3, like that was just what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
How is that then? How is that growing up like that? Because I always think it's very strange when other people aren't like that, or like you miss out on certain holidays, or when everyone else is pissing about, you're like, no, but my career. Like,
yeah, totally. Like I definitely wanted to be a fashion designer from an early age, but then I also wanted to be a special needs teacher for a very long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And my little cousin China was born with Down syndrome when I was quite young, and I just had such a love for her, and just seeing how she grew and she developed, it just ignited something in me that that's kind of where I had set my sights. But then again, when I got a bit older, things changed and I was back to fashion. It was as simple as so. And also I grew up in it, you know, and my mum worked from her studio at home. So I just saw fashion happening every day. And it kind of seems like if I heard somebody else say that, I'd be like, oh God, like that's how it always happens in that world. But it's like with anybody, you're so influenced by your parents.
Yeah.
You know, so it was just never, oh, what'll I put down the CAO?
Yeah. Yeah.
If anything, my family really wanted me to do something else. And, you know, I'd gone to guidance counselling, and very much what came from that was that I should go into marketing. And they were like, just do a degree in marketing and then you can do fashion, or do a degree in business studies. And honestly, if I was to be giving somebody advice now, that's what I'd be telling them to do.
Really?
Yeah, and I wish I'd taken that advice. But you also have to account for the sense of urgency and the fire that's burning in a 16-year-old's belly.
Yes.
And as much and all as you have the wisdom and you've got the knowledge, they don't necessarily want to hear it. And I didn't want to hear it.
No.
And so I am where I am.
Yeah.
Running a business, but I found my way in the end. And
yeah,
that's really all that matters, I think.
And just speaking of your parents there, because I always hear you talk about your mom, and I know that your dad, if you don't mind me asking, passed away when you were a teenager. Is that right?
Yeah, 15.
15. Yeah. So like, I'm always just interested in that. If you don't mind me, if it's not too much to ask, but like just the influence that has on, because there's always a couple of kids in your year in school whose a parent has passed away.
Yeah.
And can you see now, maybe not at the time, but looking back, what influence that has in you, if anything, even in your job? And because I was even thinking about how Manley is your brand, and you're married and all that now, and you know, but Manley is very much your brand, not Emma Manley, but Manley, and you have all sisters, so similar to me, that kind of thing of like, oh, the name, how do we keep the name on? Is that even a nod to keeping the name on, or not?
Yeah. It's so funny when you said that there about there's always one or two people in your year that have lost a parent. I actually just shivers, because I've never seen myself as that person.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know when somebody has, like, I've a pal who's lost her sister when we were in school, and I look at her and think like, God, that was so sad, and I have such sadness for her. But then I couldn't imagine somebody doing that in return for me. I don't know why. It's just maybe I think I just kind of, I think my overall attitude is I don't, not that I don't like people comforting me, I'm the comforter.
Okay.
I help people, and I hate when people don't have a smile on their face. Like my mission after my dad passed away was to see my mum smile, and for my sisters not to cry. Yeah, and that's what I cared about. So I think there's a huge period of time where I probably just acted a lot, and just pretended everything was fine, and didn't really get in touch with what perhaps I was feeling. Like it's only in later life that I started, and you know, at the time my mum did everything in terms of trying to get me counselling and all the rest of it, but I fell between, you know, the gap of being not an adult but not a kid anymore. So I went to kids counselling, and it was all very immature, and I was just kind of like, speak to me as an adult, but they couldn't. So I've only really started dealing with things. It was actually, I started getting therapy after I got married, which is laughable because you're the happiest time in your life. And I was like, so Owen, I've been thinking about getting therapy to deal with my daddy issues. And he's like, I love you too.
Yeah.
I'm so happy.
It's like, what did I do to you?
But you kind of, getting married was for me very emotional, in that I was like, the number one man in my life was my dad. Yeah. And even though I lost him early, like nobody ever measured up to him. And even still, like, you know, when I meet somebody who knew him, I'm like, I know Dave, right? Like, it's mad. So I think there's been a huge influence. He was also an entrepreneur, and he worked for himself like really all his life, and he ran many businesses. So like my family growing up was two sole traders, two parents who worked for themselves. So us kids probably would have, the conversations at the dinner table would have been perhaps a little bit different to other people's houses, where, you know, instead of it being like, oh God, my boss wants this, that, or the other, it's like, I'm going to go for this contract, or and it was energized, and it was exciting, and it was like the work ethic was so strong. So that's very much what I remember. And then in relation to the brand being called Manley, 100% that's got to do with him. Because
Yeah.
I remember I always wanted to make him proud, but I wasn't old enough. So
Yeah.
like my sister Louise was in college and she was on a grad course, and like he was so proud of her because she was very much following in his footsteps. And he got to bring my sister over to the college that she was going to in Liverpool. He'd a lot of family from there. So he brought her over to see that, and he was watching her kind of get her wings and fly. And then I was just bold in secondary school. So I hadn't done anything impressive yet.
Yes.
Like, I think I was always like, I want to make him proud because, you know, I know he's up there somewhere. And so that was very much the idea behind the name Manley. It's something that I'm proud of, and being the youngest of three girls, both of my sisters have taken their husbands' names. Technically, I'm Emma Banny Houlivan, but it's just not something I'm
glam.
I'm not, you know, actively using it yet. And it's not great when you're booking a restaurant, is it?
No, sometimes it's just
right
easier.
now anyway.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that's a huge part of it for me.
And it's funny what you're saying, actually, because I totally relate to that about trying to make people happy. Like, and I wonder, is it like a youngest thing? Like, I'm second youngest in my family. And not even that much in real life situations, but definitely within the family, if there's something going on, or I always feel like it's sort of my duty to be like the joker and the trying to make people laugh and keep the spirits
totally
up. And I end up digging myself further into a hole, but like, you know, but it's like, that's my focus, is like, you know, no, it's cool, guys, let's just
absolutely. If there's ever any rift or anything in the family, I'll be like, hi mum, so I've just been talking to Louise on the phone and really she didn't mean it that way, and then I'll go back to Louise and report on what mum said, and all in all you're just stirring the pot, but like you're just trying to make it better. You're the peacemaker.
Totally.
And I'm okay with that.
And it's like, I think, and I also think there's the least pressure on the youngest, so it's actually kind of a nice spot to be in. I quite like being down there. There's no eyes on you really, and you're just sort of, and you think everyone's great because you're looking up to them, you're remembering when you were like a kid and stuff, like oh my god. And in terms actually of I guess therapy, taking a long time to get to the point where you were able, I guess, to do it, how did that feel? Was there a point where you're like, do you know what, I'm just gonna speak to someone, or did it like feel like a failure at all, you know, having to, I don't think it's a failure, but you know the way that can be that moment?
No, not at all. I don't really, I think it was my sisters I know exactly what it was. It was definitely my sisters who said it to me, because I remember they were like, oh, well, maybe you should go. And I was like, oh my God, do you guys think I'm fucked up? Right. And then I was there going, oh my God, I'm that one of the family. And then it's funny because you go to therapy and, you know, you realize that you're not.
No.
It's, you know, like it, for me, it's just something, it's somewhere to go and talk and, I don't know, be honest and talk through what I feel, because I think I'm somebody who's very much in my head, and I don't think I desperately need therapy. I don't think that should be the reason. I don't think anybody should get to the point that they need therapy before they start going.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a preventative thing for me. And in the world that I'm in, like, you know, I've had a lot of struggles with the I suppose, in my eyes, the lack of success that I've had in what I do and whatever. And people don't understand that. So
because from the outside, and I've experienced this as well, I can relate to that. People think like you're flying it, like you're doing, and it does look from the outside, you're going. But I suppose it's, if you have known you wanted to do it for a long time, the idea of what you were, where you were going to be, it can be very different from, I guess, the reality.
Yeah, totally. Or even perhaps if you are where you would always hoped that you would be, but you still can't pay the mortgage. You know, it's success it comes in so many different levels, and people see one element of it and they don't see the other. And I kind of felt like a bit of a stuck record where I couldn't, you know, there's only so many times you can talk to your friends about why you can't go out, or why you can't afford to do this, or why you can't afford to do that. and you're trying to be a big girl standing on your own 2 feet. And when you hear sometimes people saying, just go get a job and a paycheck then. And you say, no, but if that's what we all did, the world would just be full of all the same people. Yeah. And I don't want to be one of those people. And I feel like I'm giving something. I just don't get paid enough for it.
Yeah, I know.
It's not. I didn't go to therapy because I didn't feel like I was earning enough money. It's not like that.
Spend more money to talk about that.
Exactly. But it was more just like, I don't know. I want to talk honestly about how I feel, where I am at in life is, and where I want to be, and how I'm going to deal with it. And shooting the shit, really.
Yeah. No, I think there's just moments like that. I would go at certain little transitionary periods in my life, or times that I go that I'm wrecking my own head about talking about something, or if I can't get out of a funk. Yes. I have to, because I'm going like, I'm just wrecking my head, and I'm sure I'm wrecking everyone else's head around me. So I'll just go and pay this person and wreck their head.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I am, where if I just can't get past something, I'm like, I'm just going to go talk to Maria, because Owen just throws his eyes up to heaven because I've brought this up for the 200th time in the past month. Do you know that way? And you need somebody. God bless her. I'd say I wreck her head too, but it's fine.
Oh God. But like that, you're sure that's what they're there for. Exactly. Would you find your identity? You see, this is so funny, because I think your answer is going to be yes, but I don't think from the outside, again, it doesn't look like it is. But would your identity be massively tied up in your job or your career?
I think that's really funny that you say that that's not how you perceive me, because I think it is how everybody perceives me, because you're always introduced as, oh, you know, my friend, the fashion designer. Or
that's the only way I introduce you as well.
Exactly. There you go, nail on the head. And I always remember thinking, like, how would people describe me if I decided to give all of this up?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, do they even think I'm a nice person? Oh my God, do they just like me because, like, I make clothes and I'm on TV sometimes? Or and so I think it's something that's slowly but surely happening. And I think it's something that, having just gone straight from, I suppose, college really into doing my own label, to have maybe worked for somebody else would have given me a bit more stability in who I was as a person pre-Manley. But I didn't, I suppose, have that luxury. So I think it's something that I still very much, I'm trying to come to terms with. I think I'm very, I think I am Emma Manley, the fashion designer, and that's how people see me. Yeah. Obviously it's not always how I see myself. There's so many other things going on in my world. But it's something I probably need to work on a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think it's hard though. I don't know if anyone hasn't mastered. I feel like if you just have the awareness of it, it can make certain things, it can make things less of a blow or something to you. Yeah. So like, if I don't get a gig, I'm aware that, like, I don't want my identity to be too tied up. So I just go like, okay, I didn't get the gig. That's nothing about me. That's just the gig. Yeah. And, but like I don't know anyone who has it quite mastered yet.
Yeah. And I suppose in certain lines of work that's just the norms. Like, I'm not going to go in and sit down and talk to my friends who are accountants at length about what they do, because they don't want to talk about it. It's really not that interesting. Whereas people love to hear about what the likes of you and me do, because they think it's interesting. Now, half the time it's not. Yeah. But it's I think when it's talked about so much in your presence as well, then the way I understand it is that that's what they like about you.
Yeah, I suppose it can come across like that. When I think about it, I think sometimes people just say it because it makes them seem cool. Like if I'm like, oh, my friend here, Emmett, the fashion designer, like, I sound awesome. Like, I have a friend who is fashion, which means in turn I am fashion and I am cool. Like,
I tell everybody you're my friend who's in line of duty.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, my sister keeps doing that, like in an effort to make friends. I'm like, you have to stop doing that now. But yeah, it's a bit it's hard though. It's hard to like separate the two. But also, sorry, just speaking of, because you were saying you do a bit of media, so I was thinking about this. So you seem, first of all, actually, was it a strategic Was it a strategic move coming back to Ireland and going, because I think the Irish media kind of can be quite easy to get into if you know how. Mm-hmm. Not like easy, but I think like it's accessible. Like it's not like, you know, so was there a strategic move where you were like, if I get back to Ireland, I know I can work the industry there. I'll probably be able to get press because of, you know, was there a kind of a strategy there, or was that another just throwing shit against the wall and seeing what sticks?
No, it was half strategic.
Yeah.
You know? My eldest sister was pregnant with her first child. I was quite, not homesick, but I'd done my time in London. I'd been interning. And after a year of interning and knowing that I was never going to get offered a job out of it, and working as a waitress 5 nights a week, and weekends, and just working my ass off, enough was enough. And it was actually my mum who kind of gave me an ultimatum. She was like, this isn't cool. You look wrecked. You know, you're running on nothing. And in the background, I'd also been drafting patterns for a collection, because whilst I was creatively fulfilled in many ways at McQueen, I just wanted to get back to the old school drafting patterns. It's something that I really adore doing, and it was as simple as that. So I'd made a collection. I went to managing the restaurant I was waitressing in. So I was assistant manager there, working full time, and then working on the collection in the evenings. And I ended up just kind of having a full collection. And it wasn't massively planned. I was just really enjoying it. And I'd access to so many different, you know, types of fabrics and lots of equipment over in London. Like I used to go to this leather workshop, and they had machines. And I'd be like, can I pay you to hop in your machines? And they're like, well, the machines are for sale. And I was like, yeah, no, I know, but like, I can't afford them. So can I just give you like £10 to hop in them for an hour? And then I'll buy all your supplies for the machine. And they were like, yeah, grand. They still supply my leather to this day. Like, it's mad.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you know, it kind of all happened. And then I remember having a conversation with my eldest sister, Louise, and she's very much kind of, she would hate me for saying this, but she is the sensible one.
Yeah.
And she's always great with guidance and advice and kind of breaking things down. And I wanted to be at home to meet her first child and be there and see it grow up. And I also, she pointed out, like, things weren't happening for me in London in terms of press or anything like that. No, I wasn't massively trying. I really wasn't. But what I'd started to notice was that people from my past were contacting me from Dublin. So I'd worked as a style advisor in Topshop, and I would have had an awful lot of communication with press there. At the time, not really understanding that I was actually dealing with press and stylists. I'd no idea. I was just doing my job. It wasn't kind of like, oh, I'll take down her number and put that in my little notebook.
Yeah.
But it's a small world. And then everyone's like, oh, where's Emma gone? And it's like, oh, she's now over in, you know, London. She was interning for McQueen. And people talk. People absolutely talk. So somebody from a magazine had gotten on saying, here, you're over in London, would love to hear about your experience. And I was like, oh, I've actually got a few pieces. And at the time, again, Sean comes into this, your lovely husband. He was in college with a guy, Benny Amino, who loved to take a photograph. Yeah. And he said, he was this very flamboyant Italian. And he was like, Emma, I shoot the collection for you. Okay, I'm very good with the camera.
Oh,
so
my
go
God.
off. Terrible accent, apologies. So he went off and he did the most beautiful shoot for me. I still love it. Yeah. And they were the pictures that I sent back home to stylists in Dublin. And sure, as soon as one person had asked for something, I said, I'll bash them off to everybody. So then they started requesting pieces for photo shoots. And that had never happened because I'd never run my own label. I didn't know what was going on. So I was like, oh, okay. So as Louise pointed out, she was like, what are you spending on postage and packaging to and from Ireland? You know, how many jobs have you done in London? So if you are going to come home and have your ducks in a row, have everything lined up so that you can absolutely hit the ground running. Mum offered me her old studio in the house, and she offered me my old room back, and a lovely warm dinner every night and washing done and all the rest. And yeah, I came home, packed my bags for the last time, and I was really happy to do that. And literally, I think I'd given myself 2 days to unpack, and I was down in the studio, and thus was Manley.
That's amazing. And with the kind of like the press side of things, because you would do a lot of press now, like as in like you would be on panels and different things like that, or interviews. how comfortable are you with that? Because like, I always think that's mad because you come across so well on camera, but like, that's not part of your gig really. Like, so I, like, if someone's like, oh, Amy, you came across very natural in that interview, I'm like, I fucking hope so. Like, it's my job.
Yeah, okay.
But was there a point where you were like, oh shit, I better get my shit together if I'm going to be doing these interviews? Or did it just come so naturally to you?
I think Mum had always wanted us, we were always sent to speech and drama.
Yeah.
So I'd done all my grades through school, and one of my biggest regrets is not going on to do my diploma with it. But that's neither here nor there. But the reason that she sent us was not to make actors of us, but to build confidence.
Yeah.
And she always said, I want, no matter what career that you go into, that if you have to get up in front of a board room or a meeting or whatever it might be, that you deliver your knowledge with confidence. It was as simple as that. It was to give us confidence. So I think that for me, it's never been something that I've never been scared of it. I don't know how it happened, to be quite honest with you, because I think I was actually very blessed from the get-go. Maybe it was because I was so young, that, you know, when I got into the game, and maybe I was fresh meat. There had been a lot of brands around for a long time, and I think maybe it was like, oh, we got some fresh meat, let's start, you know, giving her some gigs. But it's not something, I actually quite enjoy it. It doesn't make me nervous. You know, it's lovely to hear you say that I seem comfortable. I hope that's the way I come across, because quite frankly, I am very comfortable in those situations. They just don't bother me. Like, I don't even think about it.
That's amazing, because most people would be like freaking out about those things. Like, you know, and even actually if there's certain life things that you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I really would put it down to Maeve O'Donoghue, my teacher for speech and drama, giving me that ability, and just, yeah.
Isn't that amazing that your mom did that, actually? Because that is so true. It's delivering your knowledge with confidence. So any way to get to do that is just
absolutely
so important, actually.
Yeah.
And people think it's such a frivolous thing, the kind of, oh, drama classes, you know, they just go there and they be a tree for 5 hours. But actually, no, it's just good for the confidence, like.
Totally. And I think it's lovely when kids get to the end of their grades and choose not to continue.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to push it. You don't have to try and be the best in it, but it's given you so much for the rest of your life going forward. I think I see my nieces do it. And I see the confidence it's given them, and how they, you know, at 7 and 9 years of age can get up on a stage and deliver a poem beautifully and with confidence and looking, you know, happy. And I think that's worth every penny that you put into it.
And speaking of confidence, because my mum always says that she thinks that having a child gives you a new level of confidence. Mum's like, because as soon as she said, you realize that you can do things, and you can do things with the child, you're confident, you know, and you kind of, but then there's kind of the weird, like, then also opposite thing of like, your whole life's changed and you're just trying to survive. Like, how's motherhood been, Emma?
I saw how you were trying to do that segue, and it's like, just cut to the chase.
How is it? It's fucking mental, isn't it?
I love it. I have to say, I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you know what? I'm going to pull something out of the bag that my therapist would say to me. Why do you feel so guilty about it? Like, why do you feel so guilty about not having a struggle with it?
Yes.
Because I feel, and not in a bad way, but, and I think it's wonderful. There's all these platforms for mums to talk now, and for people to say how they really feel and all the rest of it. But I'm not going to sit here and have some sad story for you, because I don't. Like, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. You've got hard days, and I think I'm in a very kind of blessed position in terms of how our working lives are, and that, you know, Owen is in a 9 to 5, and my work is massively flexible. My studio is based at home, and so I can very much work around Tig's needs and naps and all the rest of it. Yes, it puts a huge amount of pressure on me, and it's all about that third shift that everybody's talking about now with, you know, COVID being here and whatnot. So I think to begin with, I'm very lucky. And
Yeah.
I get that, and I'll acknowledge
Yeah.
that. But I'm loving it. I understand what your mum's saying.
Yeah.
But I also think on one hand you get extra confidence, and then on the other hand, it's almost like I don't fit in certain places anymore. And I've started to realize that. And it's like, and I think, I don't know how you were, but I fought very hard before Tig arrived. I was saying to Owen, you know, the only reason that we're having this baby is because me and you love each other so much, right? So like, we're still going to love each other as much when this baby comes, but we'll love the baby a little bit less because we love each other the most, right? And I was talking myself around in circles about how much we loved each other and how special it was, and let's not let this baby get in the way.
Yeah.
But then, do you know what? Like, he's smashing.
Yeah.
And it's a different love.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything, I kind of had to accept that I wasn't going back to being that person. I think sometimes I need to work it a little bit harder. And I need to get away from him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Have some me time. But all in all, like, it's a huge learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's quite insane. In terms of, sorry, because I'm just wondering, when you say fought hard to, did you say get into places, or be, what were you saying with, you were fought hard to?
Oh.
Maybe I've lost, maybe I picked you up wrong.
I was fighting hard to get back to.
Oh, get back to what it was like before. And
this was Emma before.
Yes, sorry, gotcha. Yeah.
You hear people and they'd be like, oh yeah, she had a kid, so, you know.
Yeah. And then your career is dead and you are dead. Like, there is no more you.
Yeah.
And I definitely relate to that, where you fought so hard to get your career to a certain point. Yeah. And then people are just like, that's why I didn't tell anyone when I was pregnant with Billy until, I say anyone, I didn't put it online, like, Jesus,
yeah,
swear the world, you know, my fans didn't know until I got about a month to go, maybe 2 months, like, because I was going, I do not want this to start taking away from all the work that I've been doing, you know, and then in a weird way, I'm like, oh God, was I denying, you know, because then when you have them, you're like, oh God, no, you can do both. But I don't know if it's, I don't know whether it's just me or whether I do feel like the world, it's hard to kind of, to not be justifying your existence then when you are a mother, you know.
I totally agree. And I was the same. I didn't say anything. I was different to you in that you were a neat little package. You wouldn't have known you were pregnant until you were probably 5-6 months, I think. I got big very quickly, as in before I was 3 months. And so I just changed my attire. Well, not really. I suppose everything in Manley, it's not like we do bodycon dresses anyway. But I was kind of just maybe going up a size in my leather dungarees a little bit quicker than I'd anticipated. And I think for me at the time, I was opening a shop with my business partners. So Bloss, it was the first venture we'd ever done together, and it was a pop-up shop out in Dundrum selling 40 Irish designers' products under the one roof. And I remember not telling the other designers. A lot of them would have been friends, acquaintances. You know, I knew these designers. I've known them for the past 10 years. And I remember thinking that if people found out that I was pregnant, that I wouldn't be able to carry my load for Bloss. Yeah. And my business partners knew, and were very supportive. But I remember, you know, we 2 days of a move in, and I was up on a table painting the walls. And at this point, I probably was verging on 4 months. And my mum came over to help because she knew the people didn't know. She was like, I'm coming over to help. And she was like, you get down off that table. And I was like, oh, fine, just shut up, Mum. Fine, just shut up. And she was making a scene. And I was like, stop making a scene. And then basically people found out, because it was kind of like, you know, Emma was not allowed to climb ladders, and Emma wasn't allowed to do this, that, and the other. And I remember seeing it as a weakness. And it's something that I still think about all the time. And as you say, like, you feel like you're denying something. But then I also had contracts with, you know, I had jobs lined up to do with a couple of different brands. It's not like I'd be out the gap with work like that. But, you know, I had a couple of jobs lined up. And I wondered, would I be dropped very quickly? And
Yeah.
you have those concerns, and I think it's a really hard thing in when you're self-employed. People, this whole idea of like, oh, she does it all.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe you can do it all, but in a different way. It's how you weigh things, how the different elements of life are weighted against each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I'm learning to do a bit better now, and learning to understand a bit better. And I just wish that maybe that I could understand it a bit better myself when it wasn't about me, that I could look at other women and say, wow, like, aren't they amazing that they're doing all of this, but does it have to be all of this? I'm not articulating it very well, but it's like everything's judged on how much you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily, being a mum and running your own business and doing all these other things, something's got to give.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be disappointed, or you shouldn't feel that people are disappointed in you because a certain element of your previous existence is now, not maybe shining as bright because you've chosen to bring a human being into the world.
Yeah. And do you feel that with your with your work? Like, do you feel like that a certain level of it has, like, do you feel any conflict with the fact that there's this little human now, and you're like, well, I need to dedicate this amount of time to this little human. So maybe sometimes there are certain jobs I can't take on, or I have to really prioritize.
Yeah.
And is that like, and has that been like your line of work, is that a good thing? Does that really kind of streamline everything and make you very focused? Or can it be that thing of going like, oh, I thought I was going to be in this place, but I'm in this place and it's different. Not the difference bad.
Yeah, I think it's made me box smarter. Really, it has. I'm more, the first thing to go for me was the free work. And I'm assuming it's the same in your line of biz, but I'm forever being asked, oh, will you come and do this photo shoot for this, or this photo call for this? And it would be a great brand exposure for you. And don't get me wrong, like in the early days, believe you me, it's wow. Like it's what you need. You need to get your face out there. But when you get to the point where people are shoving products in your hand for a photo call and you're not getting paid for it, and you're being, anyway, look, I could get into it. I was never ballsy enough to say no, because I thought that should I say no, I'll never get asked to do it again. Yeah. Whereas now, the way I see it is, if I don't get asked to do it again, quite frankly, do I give a shit? I have a wonderful customer base out there, and my job is to continue creating beautiful things for my customers, and things that allow them to feel great about themselves, when they're wearing them, and that's where I'm getting my satisfaction from. And so the kind of it's not that I've completely changed how I do business, but I have a family to provide for now, so I'm prioritizing particular things. I'm also trying to just streamline Manley a little bit more, and maybe I've always been kind of very eager to go down as sustainable a route as possible. I've been working really hard at it for the past 5-6 years, looking at how sustainable Manley is. And I think that if you'd asked me 10 years ago where I saw Manley, it would have all been about, and I want to be at London Fashion Week, and I want to be doing trade shows around the world, and I want to be this, and I want to be that. And now I'm like, I want to make less, but make better products.
Yes.
And it's as simple as that. And I think Tyke coming along has very much taught me a huge amount about that, because it's like, I have limited time. I want to make less. I want to make them better. I want to be prouder of every single thing I send out, rather than just trying to get on this, I don't know, this kind of trajectory that everybody wants you on. Like initially it's all about business investment and what are your KPIs and what are your this and what are your, and I'm talking to these business bods and just going, it's not where I want to be anymore.
Yeah.
It's not. And it's not that, and what I always think people confuse it with, my spirit and my ambition isn't dampened by him.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think I have more but for a different part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really thankful for that, because I think if I'd have continued on with Manley the way it was going, I think I would have found success in a different way. But is it something that would make me as a person happy inside? Maybe not. Whereas what I'm striving for now, like, it's everything that I've ever wanted.
Yeah. God, it's so true. God, it's so true. Because I think when you are younger, and some people don't grow out of it, that's the weirdest thing. It's all very external and very kind of like, and I want to be like, I want to be in this film and I want to win this award, or I want to be in London Fashion Week getting my photo taken. And you're like, but for what? Like, like, and then eventually those moments are the things that really break it down of like, no, but what way can I like serve the world in a good way? How can I be of service or whatever, if you want to get all wanky about it.
Yeah.
But it is that, and it's so great. And it's so funny because so many times I hear that that's what motherhood does for people, or it really makes, or it takes away a certain element of kind of the need of all this external stuff, because you're actually seeing something pretty, you can do it with other things. It's not just motherhood, but definitely you see the ultimate creation, which is a human being that you've made, and they're going to go into the world and do their own mad stuff themselves because they're their own person. That's amazing. So then you kind of want to replicate that in your work, I think, and be the most true to your values or, your purpose as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And I think I remember one time going like, is it a case of I want to be, kissing Thai goodbye and saying, okay, mummy's going off to China because she's got to go check in her factories. Yeah. Or is it a case that, oh, honey, I've got to go into the studio because we've just finished, X amount of pieces that have been made in a factory locally that you visited. And now I'm packaging them up and sending them to the people who bought them, and seeing that process. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what is it that I'm proud of? And what is it that I want to show to him? Because they were very much the two different avenues that I could have gone down. And look, more power to anybody who does it the other way. There's no right and there's no wrong. Yeah. It's just, I think, what suits me as a person. And as you get older, you value different things.
Definitely.
And that's okay.
And was kind of marriage and having a family always in your eye line? Because it certainly wasn't for me. I was one of those people, I was just like career. And then I was kind of going, and anything else, well, I learned that over time. But I was kind of going, no, anything else a bonus, Yeah. But was that always a hope for you, or were you kind of very career oriented?
I was massively career oriented. Yeah. So this will kind of paint the perfect picture for you. But myself and Owen were set up by a very good pal of mine, Louise. And myself and Louise have gone to primary school, secondary school together. And then her and Owen ended up sitting beside each other, working in Borgosh. And he was single and I was single, and all my friends were in relationships. And we were at one weekend, we were at an engagement party for a friend of mine, and she was like, come here to me. Could I set you up with the guy from work? I think the two of you are really alike. I think you get on great, blah, 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 whatever. So then she said it to Owen. I was like, yeah, game ball. Like, I find it really hard to meet people. Like, boys never come up to me when we're out. So, like, do it. Yeah.
Sing it. I'm with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that feel.
So whatever happened, she said it to him, and she was just like, oh no, she'd said it to him before, but she said, but I just don't know if she's going to say yeah, because she's so busy. She's just always busy. But I was just always busy working on Manley. So yeah, when Owen came along, I think one of the best things about him is that he's always encouraged me. So he never tried to dampen my motivation or my eagerness to try and drive Manley forward. If anything, he helped me.
Yeah.
Like he's given so much to me. Like he's very much part of Manley now. So he kind of runs the whole digital side of things. He has a full-time job and then he's got Manley on the side. But he's always been that guy to help push me forward and accelerate things for me. And it's only really, I think, since I got pregnant on Thaig that, if anything, I understood his want to look after me. So I would have rejected that massively in the past, where I'd be like, I can do this myself and I don't need you and I'm fine. But the longer you're with somebody, the more you start letting them look after you a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think from his point of view, when I was pregnant, I think he just wanted to look after me that little bit more. And I remember being like, no, and I'm opening blocks and I'm going to do this. I've got 9 months to, like, you know, make shit happen, and I'm going to do it because, you know, then
it's all ending then.
Life is over and Manley's going to be gone and it's just going to go. And he was kind of like, okay, so he just kind of watched from afar and let me kind of burn myself out. So yeah, I don't think it was ever like, oh, I really want to get married and I really want to have kids. I don't think I ever really didn't. I was I think the way he went about marrying me was the right.
Tricked you into it.
It was just right.
Yeah.
You know, he understands me as a person, and he understands that I need to feel as though I'm doing it by myself.
Oh, so that's why you're friends with my husband. Because you both do that. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to, like this. So that was your idea. Well done. Okay, sure.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, no, it's like, look, everything's worked out so great, and I think a person like me requires a very particular kind of companion, and I just was very lucky to have found him so early on.
I know. I think I do feel like that as well, and I think it's I think it's hard when you're not hard, but it is hard when you're an ambitious young woman. I always and it used to really annoy me. People would be like, "That's very intimidating." Now I'd say you're very intimidating, or like you wouldn't kind of have, or maybe we're just absolute howlers, like, but you wouldn't have many fellas kind of approaching you, or any. I'm saying not many. I'm trying to make myself seem better than I am, Emma.
Mum used to say, you're very intimidating, Emma. You know, you're very intimidating.
People used to say that to me, and I just don't understand that. One day I'll figure that out. But like, I'm like, so I always feel like the fellas that do get involved, and not only get involved, but like that about you, and that's one of your kind of the attractive qualities of you. I just think that's kind of that's something special for sure. Yeah, and then they can only help you and make you better. But
they want to as well, because they understand that that's kind of, I don't know, that's the fuel that you need in a way.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think I could sit down and have a conversation with Owen where he didn't input into what I was doing work-wise, or ask his advice on something and him not care. You know, it's you need that. I don't know. Yeah, you just need that input from them, and you need. I don't need his approval for things, but I like to know that he's kind of there with me along the way as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think that you can, and that's really nice, because I think you can be highly independent, but welcome that into your life as well. I think that's like a nice balance to have for sure. Yeah. And even the thing when you were saying about, the getting married, I think that I felt like that as well. Like it wasn't something that I specifically was like, I want to, because I always worry when people say I want to get married and I want to, have children. I always kind of go, but with who? Because it's quite important. That other element is I would like to think would be the reason. This one would probably, Oh God, you sound very romantic now altogether. Look at me go. What's happened to me, Emma? It's talking to you. Suddenly become a real romantic. Oh God. Just like I want to get into so much more with you, but we'll do that, over a drink. Another time properly. But in terms of creativity, I guess what my final question is always kind of, what does it mean to you? And as well, you can be as winding as you like with it, because it's kind of more, it's a pondering kind of answer.
Yeah, like I don't really know how to answer that question, if I'm honest, because number one, I would never have considered myself to be a creative person.
What?
I know. Yeah.
You make clothes for a living. You design them and you make them.
Like I'm never as creative as the other designers. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of creative, but that's what I would think. But I do understand that I am quite possibly quite creative. I
Yeah.
get it, okay, I do, but I would never have been like, you know those like creative kids in school where you're like, oh, she's always
Yes.
drawing, or oh, she's always like I had an obsession with my dad's calculator that had a receipt out the back of it, so I'm adding everything up. Do you know what I mean? Like I it's not really creative, is it? Like
No.
I had a sewing machine when I was like 3, and okay, look, I'm gonna backtrack. Maybe
But it's the idea of, what a creative person looks like. It's always the real flamboyant kind of, they've got feathers coming out of every...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they're just so carefree. I always think the creative people are so carefree, and I'm like, oh my God, that's not me. But I think for me, like, creativity is it's kind of just my way of life. Mm-hmm. If you can say that. Like, I understand now that my approach to a lot of things is quite creative, that without creativity, I'm not very happy. It's, even down to like, I love cooking, like, more than a lot of things in life. I really love time in the kitchen, and it could just be cooking dinner.
Yeah.
But I love the process of it, and I love the creativity that's involved in it. And, I kind of need to go next door to the studio. Like last night, Tyke was put down to bed, whatever, and I was like, I'm just going to go next door for a few hours. And I kind of understand that, yes, there's a certain element of it that's work, but there's a certain element of it that's like, I'm up to here now. I've built it up, and I just need to just let it go. And I need to go in and make a new piece of jewellery or design a new whatever. And when I have those moments, it's not going in to look at spreadsheets about manufacturing or supplies or anything like that. It's purely just to make something. And it's kind of like I have this little gauge inside of me. And when it starts running low, I just need to go and do something creative.
Yeah.
So I suppose in a way it's a little bit like my fuel, that I just constantly need to have it present and there. And it just allows me to feel, I don't know, like
yourself.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Because it is that thing of going, when you are up to here, or you've given so much to everybody else, and especially now with the COVID and, the times that we're in, and with having a child and all of that, you're literally like, even just an hour of doing something.
Yeah.
You feel back to yourself, and then able to give again. But it's like you need that to survive.
Like, there's only so long I can sit on a couch for and watch TV, and like Owen will have, say it's Friday night or something, and he'll say, oh, we watched something, and he'll say, come here to me now, could you do a movie? Because he knows I have a time limit, and I'm like, no, I need to just do something. I can't watch a movie. Or like I'll sit down to watch something, and at the end I'll be so buzzing because you're watching somebody else's creativity, and it's great.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I just need to go make something now, or I need to go and, I don't know, write something down in my book, or I need it. It's what keeps me balanced, I think.
Yeah.
And it's also great having a child now as an excuse where you sit down and you draw. And you're like, and nobody's judging you because I can just blame it on Tyke. So
yeah, exactly. He drew this. Look at it.
Yeah. This is not the reason why I didn't get into art college.
Oh God, I'm going to have to leave all the drawing up to Sean. He's way better at it than me. I'd just be like, can't even draw a stick, man. It's ridiculous.
Poor Billy's never going to want to draw in front of him. Like, oh
I know, the pressure.
So much better.
I know. Oh God, can you imagine? Oh God. No, it is that. Isn't it so funny? It's like everyone I talk to, it's a survival thing. It's totally survival. It is just survival. And if it's in you, like I think everyone obviously is creative. Yeah. But I think if it's that burning passion, like you just can't live without it. Like it's amazing. Like,
I even find when I go on holidays or something, it's terrible to say, I love coming home, because I'll always have like my little list of what I want to make.
Yeah.
And it can be from things like, it always will start with stuff in the Manley studio, but then it'll be like recipes that I've thought up of, or just things around the house that I just want to make first. And it's because I've been, sitting on my bum for the past week, and I haven't had the opportunity to do something creative. So I need to get home and just do that stuff.
Yeah.
Mad.
It's a beautiful thing. Oh, God. Oh, Emma. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for
It has
having
been
me.
such a lovely chat.
It has.
Oh, you're just, yeah, I'm so glad I chatted to you because you are, you know, what I love about the people I've been talking to is everyone's very open. And I would definitely be a bit of an oversharer myself, but like everyone has been very gracious and lending themselves to the chat. And it's so nice to hear your experience and where you're coming from. And you know, because I always feel like when I'm listening to stuff, and there's so much good stuff out there that I listen to as well, but there's certain things when I'm listening to people, I always want to know more. So I hope I got more, you know, got a lot of, there's just so much to you. And you're just you're a fab gal. You really are.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
so creative. Jesus. Oh my God. Everyone needs to go to Emma's and see one of her outfits and get cooked one of her meals because they're fabulous.
You've had the pleasure of both.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, thank you so much, Emma.
Thanks a mil for having me.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. So there you have it, Emma Manley. Oh, she's just a dream of a human. I'm such a big fan of Emma's. I just love how open and honest and real she is. And those are kind of overused words, but I think Emma is the epitome of this. Her designs are so beautiful, and I love how deeply she thinks about her work and how I guess her focus has shifted, you know, because we all are there in the beginning of our creative journey where we want to see ourselves, you know, doing a certain thing, and as we speak in the podcast about how it can be so external, and then how life comes along and sort of teaches us how to sort of be true to our purpose in a way that we can serve the world. And at the end of the day, isn't that what it's all about, really? Thank you, Emma. You're a dream. You're a gorgeous human being, and I wish you only the best. So that's the last in the series, guys. Can you believe it? We're going to have one bonus episode next week, you lucky dogs. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. So make sure you stay subscribed to our YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And until then, have a great day, guys.